Alright, so we're into our second unit here for our flipped classroom. This unit is going to all be about transformation, so we're going to spend a lot of time on the coordinate plane. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do some graphing review just to go over how to plot some points, the different coordinates, and the different types of lines that we have to graph. So in this video, we're going to understand the basics of graphing on the coordinate plane. So again, here's our success for the video. You should be able to do these 5 things by the end of the video. Alright, let's just jump right into it here. So first we want to graph points. So the first thing we want to know about coordinates here is that each coordinate has an x coordinate and a y coordinate. Okay, so the x value of 5 tells us whether we move right or left, and the y coordinate of 9 tells us whether we move up or down. So on every graph we're going to have an x-axis and a y-axis. So I'm going to plot this point A as 5, 9. Okay, this be point A, and I always want to label what I have on my graph. The next one is going to be B, which can be negative 4, 7. And that's coordinate B. Coordinate C is going to be 5, negative 3. So that says we're going to move to the right 5, down 3. That's point C. And then I have D, which is my last one, which is negative 6, 2. So I go to the left 6, down 2. Okay, that's point D. So just to review, just to remember, anything going to the right is positive for my x value, the left is negative. Anything going up is positive for my y value, and down is negative. All right, we always do our x first and then our y. One other thing to note that'll come up later on is if you notice the graph is split up into 4 quadrants, we do have numbers for them. So top right is 1, top left is 2, bottom left is 3, and bottom right is 4. Okay, this is important later on. It comes up every once in a while. It's a multiple choice where they ask about different quadrants. And it also just helps to keep us organized. So just remember it goes in order in a counterclockwise direction. That will definitely come up later on. All right, the next part, this is really the more important part or something that you may not remember. Is how do we graph these kinds of lines over here. All right, so the first one I'm going to graph is x equals 4. So you may think x equals 4 would be kind of left to right because the x-axis is left to right, but that's actually the opposite. So this is actually going to be a vertical line. So we definitely need to know how to graph vertical lines here. So I'm going to go to where x is equal to 4, and that's going to tell me where this line goes. So it's going to go up and down at every point where x is 4. All right, so there's going to be x equals 4. And the reason why this line goes up and down is because every coordinate on here has an x coordinate of 4. Right, that's why this is how we graph it. Right, the next one I'm going to graph is y equals negative 1. So if x equals is my vertical line, then that means y equals is going to be my horizontal line. Okay, so I'm going to go down here to where y is equal to negative 1, and I'm going to extend that horizontally in both directions. Again, for the same reason that every coordinate on this line that I could possibly find, the y coordinate will always be negative 1. Okay? Now, so the key thing to remember here is x equals a number is always going to be vertical, and y equaling a number is always going to be horizontal. All right, and that's going to help you remember what you need to do when we have these lines. Okay, so I have one last thing for this, and it's these 2 lines here. And this is very important because it comes up on some multiple choice and it comes up on some part 2s, and it's just something that's thrown out there to trick you. So x equals 0 is a horizontal line. So it's not, x equals 0 is a vertical line. So it's not the x-axis. This is actually the y-axis. So I'm going to highlight it here in blue. But this is the line x equals 0 because that is where all of my points x is equal to 0. And the other one, again, a little tricky here, y equals 0. Y, as we said before, y is always a horizontal line. So this y equals 0 is going to actually be our x-axis. So that's just one thing to be careful with if they ask you to graph these lines. Okay? And it comes up every once in a while, so just be careful with those. So just remember, big key here. X equals is a vertical line, Y equals is a horizontal line. And make sure that you can plot points at the end of this, all right? So that's really it for this video. Try to make this one short. There is no mastery check for this video, so do the practice problems on the bottom and then get into video 2. You'll have a mastery check after video 2. All right, I'll see you guys there.